still says mute. And I don't know what to do. Meeting is now streaming live on YouTube. YouTube. Do you have the telephone number for them?
Yeah.
Dial them. That's it. Here they are.
Let me know when we're ready, Cammy. Welcome. I am officially calling this Mine Land Reclamation Board meeting to order on this beautiful August 20th, 2025 day. And we'll start by just doing introductions of the board. I'm Karen Stiglmeyer and acting chair currently. And we'll go over to Doug.
I'm Doug Oren. Bill Baker here.
Jill Nelson. And then staff.
Good morning, I'm Michael Cunningham, Division Director. Russ Means, Minerals Program Director. Chuck Coyman with the AG's office, Council of the Board.
And we do not have Tim with us today, but we might have some information from Mr. Cunningham.
I want to see if Nell's on. I'm not sure if that's.
Yeah, I don't see her.
I'm on. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, you're an iPhone number.
I guess so, yeah. I'll try to fix that.
Nell Wareham is with us online. Michael. Oh. We do all this, okay. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. So the first thing on our agenda is to approve our July minutes. Do we have any comments or motion on that?
I motion we approve the minutes.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? say
Aye.
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 Thanks, Nell. We can see your name now. Okay, minutes are approved. So we have approval of continuances and withdrawals. And we have one major withdrawal. We need to have a motion for that?
Madam Chair, if I can, before you do that, I'd just like to take the opportunity right now and stuff and that to bring the board's attention to stuff, the hard work that staff and the objectors and the operator did to get this and stuff to a point and stuff, and that where it was withdrawn. We had a pre-hearing conference ready to come to the board, and then we actually had another meeting and stuff last Wednesday. And then between Wednesday and actually late Monday afternoon and stuff, we got everything resolved so that the objections were withdrawn. So that's why there's a late withdrawal in our schedule and stuff here, but it's because of the efforts and stuff of staff, the operator, the county, and the Water Conservation District, which were the objectives. So.
Well done. So that was Battle Mountain Resources, file number M 1988-112. And great work by all to get it resolved. We don't need a motion for that, do we?
To accept them, yeah, sure.
Okay, I guess we need a motion or any comments? Motion to accept it. Accept the withdrawal.
I move to accept the withdrawal of M 1988-112.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, unanimous. Okay, now we can go to Executive Director Office and Division Director reports.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, members of the board. I'm Michael Cunningham, Division Director, and I'll be providing updates on behalf of Mr. Mock this morning. I'm going to have to start off with a very big update for the board, a DNR staffing update. Tim Mock has been hired to serve as the Deputy Director of Operations for Colorado Parks and Wildlife beginning on August 25th. Tim will be filling the position vacated by Heather Disney Dugan, who officially retired earlier this month. The position will oversee the regional managers, outdoor recreation, and law enforcement. The Executive Director's Office has begun recruiting for Tim's vacated position and hopes to fill it as soon as possible. Tim asked me to express that he will particularly miss working with the DRMS team and having the honor of serving on the Mineland Reclamation Board and working with each of you. He apologizes for not being able to attend this meeting, thanks each of you for your service and how much he enjoyed working with you and DRMS staff. He hopes to swing by at a future meeting to express his regards. I'll just say on a personal note, I'm going to miss Mr. Mock tremendously. I think anybody who knows or has worked with Tim has a tremendous amount of respect for him, his dedication, his professionalism. So it's going to be a loss for the Mineland Reclamation Board, but it's going to be he'll be a great asset over at Colorado Parks and Wildlife. And so we certainly wish him all the best, and I'll keep you updated on when that position gets filled, and we'll likely have a new board member at that time. Moving on to a legislative update, as many of you are probably aware, Governor Polis called for a special legislative session that is convened today after carefully evaluating the negative impacts of H.R. 1, the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill. H.R. 1 will reduce state revenue by over $1.2 billion in the current fiscal year and by roughly $700 million in fiscal year 2027 and fiscal year 2028. The loss of revenue is largely due to increased tax deductions for corporations. This bill also increases expenses by shifting costs from the federal government to the states. With that impact in mind, the governor is calling the special session to address the significant impact this federal law has on Colorado's budget. Despite passing a balanced budget in the last legislative session, H.R. 1 made immediate cuts to Colorado's revenue, making it so that our budget is no longer balanced and that our TABOR refund has been taken away for this fiscal year. The General Assembly has the responsibility to deliver a balanced budget to Coloradans. So this special session will have a limited scope to address these fiscal shortfalls along with policies addressing addressing healthcare and premium insurance premiums, food security, and other social services and artificial intelligence. As we face another severe budget shortfall, the governor also announced that the state would be implementing a hiring freeze to help save money and stabilize the state budget. Effective on October 27, 2025 through December 31st, 2025, the governor orders state agencies in his purview to stop posting for new job opportunities with start dates in 2025. This will not include positions that are fully funded through TABOR exempt funding sources and includes other exceptions for positions necessary to ensure public safety, continuity of certain essential services, and needed to implement changes to safety net programs required by H.R. 1. As you are all probably aware from past special sessions, this could last as short as 3 days or go on as long as necessary to pass these bills. Colorado special sessions do not have a predetermined maximum length set by the state constitution. Instead, the Colorado General Assembly determines the duration of a special session by passing a joint resolution to adjourn once they've completed the business for which the session was called. Moving on to budget update. In addition to the special session, DNR continues to work with the governor's office on budget proposals for the upcoming cycle, fiscal year 26-27. As a state, we were already preparing to navigate a tough budget environment in fiscal year 26-27, a situation that will now be even more challenging because of the impact of H.R. 1 on state revenues and expenditures going forward. The governor's budget for next fiscal year will be released on November 1st, 2025, and the 26-27 fiscal year will start on July 1st, 2026. On the energy front, on August 4th, the Colorado Energy Office shared with stakeholders a draft of renewable siting studies required by Senate Bill 24-212. CEO is taking comments until August 22nd and has scheduled listening sessions with stakeholders to provide additional feedback in the coming weeks. The final study will be submitted to the legislature by September 30th. As for our tribal updates, on August 5th, House Bill 25-1163 became effective, allowing tribal members of the Ute, Mountain Ute, and Southern Ute tribes free entry into state parks. Tribal members simply have to present a current tribal identification card to enter state parks at no cost. We want to recognize all that has been done by Colorado Parks and Wildlife staff to ensure that state park staff have the internal guidance and training needed to support this newly implemented policy. Some updates on state land board. Last year, the legislature passed House Bill 1332, which directs the DNR to convene a working group focused on studying opportunities to advance conservation and recreation on state trust lands. The working group consists of up to 25 members, with 18 of these seats appointed by the legislature, 4 appointed by the governor, and 1 by the Colorado Commission of Indian Affairs, and up to 2 members appointed by the tribes. The Consensus Building Institute was brought on as the contractor to lead this effort, and we expect the working group to begin meeting soon after the appointment deadline of September 5th. In terms of forestry and wildlife mitigation, the Colorado Strategic Wildlife Action Program's next round of workforce development grant program is set to open for applications in September. This funding supports wildlife mitigation work completed by the Department of Corrections, SWIFT crews, and Colorado Youth Corps crews. The Colorado State Forest Service Forest Restoration and Wildfire Risk Mitigation Grant is currently open for applications until October 9th. And in regards to water, a little more than a month ago, Nebraska filed suit against Colorado in the U.S. Supreme Court related to the South Platte River. Colorado is working hard on responding to their filing, which the state plans to file in October. Unfortunately, there's not much we can say on this active litigation, but please rest assured that the whole of government is working to support this effort. We are also separately engaging in the permitting process related to the construction of the Perkins County Canal. Last week, the DNR formally requested cooperating agency status for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Section 404 permitting process. DNR, CPW, DWR, and CWCB will all be engaged in this EIS process. In September, the Colorado Water Conservation Board will hold a hearing and decide whether to accept the Shoshone water rights into the state in-stream flow program. This is just one stage in the process. Other steps that need to be taken before it is final include finalizing funding available to support the purchase, decreeing the water right for in-stream flow use through the water court process, and approval by the Public Utilities Commission, given that Excel is a regulated public utility. And with that, that concludes Executive Director updates. I'm happy to try to answer any questions, although I might have to get back to you on some of those answers.
Well, we could talk about all of that for hours, actually.
Certainly.
But I think I'll wait and see. Special session will be interesting. Any
No questions.
comments, questions? Okay, well, thanks. I'm sorry to hear about Tim leaving us.
Certainly. And I can provide the division director's report now if you're.
Oh, okay.
So as far as the director's report, a couple personnel announcements to make. Our budget director, Elena Lazarevska, has accepted a position with Boulder County. Her last day is going to be this Friday. So we're incredibly happy for Elena to pursue this new opportunity. It's going to be a big loss for us. We've got some big shoes to fill in that role. That position is open and posted, and it closes today. In addition, we've got an open announcement for an environmental protection specialist intern 1 position. That is currently open, and that announcement closes tomorrow. So maybe by next month, we'll be introducing some new folks to the board. The Inactive Mine Reclamation Program has received the initial grant distribution from the Federal Abandoned Hard Rock Mine Reclamation Program, administered by the Department of the Interior. The Inactive Mine Reclamation Program was allocated $250,000 to facilitate the implementation of multiple hard rock safety closure projects and to inventory hard rock mine features across Colorado. So we are really pleased to receive that grant, and we hope it's just one of many to come in the future from this new program. I think, as everybody's aware, we're in wildfire season. We've got a number of wildfires happening. The Colorado Division of Public Safety contacted the Inactive Mines Reclamation Program for assistance in identifying historic coal waste piles and safety closures within the prospective wildfire boundary of the LaRue fire. CDPS sought to ensure that any backburns avoided historic coal waste and that potential ignition of such sites was noted, enabling the Inactive Mines Program to conduct follow-up assessments after the conclusion of emergency operations. While the Inactive Mines Reclamation Program staff provided CDPS with locations of historic mines in the fire's vicinity, the current fire boundary appears to be outside of these areas. We're going to maintain coordination with CDPS staff through full containment and subsequent post-fire assessment. And certainly our hearts go out to those that are in those communities that are dealing with these fires right now. And last but not least, I never want to pass an opportunity to embarrass my staff. And so I would be remiss for not noting that Friday is Jason Music, our co-program director's birthday. Happy birthday, Jason. And with that, that concludes the director's report. I'm happy to take any questions from you.
Question?
No questions.
Thank you. That's a lot to keep track of. Okay, we're gonna move on to the consent agenda. There is none. So we'll move on to an enforcement hearing file number P 2012-011, Muddler Gold Mine LLC. And so we have people to speak on this item. Anyone who is going to speak, can you please raise your hand and swear to tell the truth?
Yes.
I'll tell the truth.
Okay. So we'll move on.
The computer slides. Thank you.
Thank
you. Mr. Murphy.
Mr. Murphy is raising his.
Oh, okay. Are you raising your hand to tell the truth or something else? We can't hear you. I think you're muted. And now you should be able
Okay,
to speak.
is that any better?
Yes,
Sam, they can't see. There we go. Can you see me now?
yes.
Okay, good morning to Mr. Chairman and the board. My name is Shannon Murphy, and I apologize for, firstly, my voice. I fell, unfortunately, in January this year, I collapsed and I broke my neck in several places, so they've had to operate on me. And I've had a problem with my voice ever since, and I've been in hospital for many, many months.
Sorry to hear that, but we can understand you.
Did you say you can see me?
Yes.
Okay.
Please just say you're hard of hearing.
Oh boy, okay. All right, I can see that there's a notice that has been brought up on my screen. And I'm not sure what the procedure is. What do you need me to do? I beg your pardon.
Mr. Murphy, this is Chuck Coleman. I'm counsel for the board. So this is an enforcement hearing. So the way this will work is division staff will make a presentation to the board outlining their theory and allegations regarding the violations that were noticed to you, both in the inspection report and the notice of violation that should have been sent out to you. Once they've had an opportunity to present and answer any board questions, you'll be given some time to present your side of the issue. And again, the board will be able to ask you questions regarding anything that was brought up following those presentations. If the board doesn't have any other questions for the division or you, they'll move into board deliberation, discuss what was presented, and then come to a conclusion regarding what the division is requesting in terms of action items. So yeah, right now the division is going to present. And, you know, just for the sake of clarity, you know, please hold any comments until it's your turn to talk. And the board chair will let you know when it's your opportunity to present as the operator. Okay. Any questions about that, Mr. Murphy?
Thank you. Thank you so much. No, that's perfect. Thank you so much.
Mr. Murphy is representing Smuggler's Gold Mine. Okay, thank you.
I'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, members of the board. My name's Lee Simmons. I'm an environmental protection specialist with the division for 13 years. The site that we're going to discuss this morning is Smuggler Gold Mine Notice of Intent to Conduct Prospecting number P 2012-011. This is an enforcement hearing for consideration of a possible violation, cease and desist order, corrective actions, civil penalties, permit revocation, and finding the financial warranty subject to forfeiture for failure to post the additional required financial warranty within 60 days of the notice of the adjustment. I have a fairly short presentation for you. It begins with some maps and photographs, which are mainly for context. The issue that we're here to discuss is really, I don't have photographs to illustrate it specifically. It's a little text heavy at the end of my presentation, just a warning. So if you have questions as I go, feel free to stop me and I'll pause for questions at the end as well. So the Smuggler Gold Mine is in the north of Gilpin County. It's about 3.5 miles from Rollinsville by road, about 2 miles in a straight line. This slide shows a map taken from the NOI packet. It's not a great map, but it's not unusual for an NOI. I was able to, it shows the outlines of claim boundaries, which I was able to geo-reference on a Gilpin County tax parcel layer. And then it's been overlaid on an aerial image. It's quite hard to read, so the next slide shows a little annotation. You can see the location of the portal and a shaft, and then on the left side of the frame there's a scale bar for reference. So NOI P 2012-011 is, as I said, a notice of intent to conduct prospecting. The permitted area is 2 acres, although the boundary that's been drawn onto this map, you can see that in the center of the frame there's a kind of a squiggly hand-drawn line. That area is significantly smaller than 2 acres. The commodity to be mined or to be explored is gold and silver. It's a underground operation. This area has been historically mined, and so the portal is it was pre-existing. The division holds a bond of $17,200, which is no longer adequate to reclaim the site. And the inspection took place on October 31st, 2024. Mr. Murphy was present at the inspection. for which I noted in the inspection report, the division was very grateful. He was clearly suffering with some health problems. During the inspection, 4 problems were cited, including one for inadequate financial warranty, and these problems were all discussed in the field. The NOI has been active for more than 5 years, and reclamation has not yet begun. That's the first of the 4 problems that were cited. Photo 1 on slide 5 just gives a overview of the site from the south looking north. You can see it was a cold day, cold morning. The entire disturbance associated with the NOI is in the frame, maybe just a shade clipped off on the right side, but you can more or less see everything that's there. Photos 2 and 3 show some trash that had been left on the site and a fallen building in photo 3. These were illustrative of problem 3 that was cited in the inspection report. And then photos 4 and 5 show the mine portal. Again, this is a historic portal. I believe it's a tunnel that extends around 2,000 feet, partially caved at the time of the inspection. The structure on the front of the portal is more recently constructed. You can see there that there are doors to cover the portal entrance, but they were not secure at the time of the inspection. Photos 6 and 7 show the cover of the mine shaft. You can see in photo 7 that there is a lock on the shaft cover, but it's been cut. So it also was not secured at the time of the inspection. Okay, moving on to the chronology. Got 4 slides to cover this. So beginning with the inspection on October 31st, 2024, DRMS conducted an inspection of the operation. The operator, Shannon Murphy of Smuggler Gold Mine LLC, was present at the inspection. Problems were discussed in the field. Following the inspection, the reclamation cost estimate was recalculated with current unit costs. On the right side of this slide, I have a screenshot of the summary page of the reclamation cost estimate. I understand that it's hard to read on the screen, but it is in your packet if you need to refer to it. No new tasks were added to the cost estimate following this inspection. It was really just update the existing tasks with 2024 unit costs. So really an adjustment just to account for inflation. This cost estimate increased the total bond required from $17,200 to $35,189. On November 8, 2024, DRMS sent the operator a copy of the inspection report, updated reclamation cost estimate attached. 4 problems were cited, each with a corrective action due date of December 8, 2024. The 4 problems were failure to complete prospecting activity within 5 years pursuant to the Colorado Revised Statute 34-32-113, parent 5. The second problem was for failure to maintain the proper financial warranty amount to complete reclamation of the affected lands pursuant to CRS 34-32-117, parent 4, parent B. The third problem was for failure to dispose of refuse in a manner that controls unsightliness or deleterious effects of such refuse pursuant to CRS 34-32-116, parent 7, parent D. And the fourth problem was for failure to safeguard mine entries, trenches, and excavations from unauthorized entry at all times as necessary to provide for public safety pursuant to CRS 34-32-116, parent 7, parent M. On December 4th, 2024, DRMS received a request from John Fognani, acting on behalf of the operator, to extend the corrective action due dates for all 4 problems to June 30th, 2025. On the same day, December 4th, 2024, DRMS approved the extension request for problems 1, 3, and 4, but explained to Mr. Fognani that the process to initiate a surety increase to address the inadequate financial warranty would move forward as planned. DRMS reiterated that this surety increase would not be initiated until after the corrective action due date, December 8th, in case the operator wished to submit comments on the reclamation cost estimate. No comments were received. On December 11th, 2024, DRMS sent notice of surety increase number 1, increasing the required financial warranty from $17,200 to $35,189. The due date for SI1 was 60 days from the date of the notice, that is February 9th, 2025. On February 4th, 2025, DRMS received a request from Mr. Fognani, again acting on behalf of the operator, to extend the due date for SI1 by 90 days. The next day, February 5th, 2025, Jeff Fugate, acting on behalf of the division, notified Mr. Fognani that the division would extend the due date for surety increase 1 to June 30th, 2025. The justification for the extension was Mr. Murphy's unfortunate health issues and circumstances. The actual date of the extension was set to coincide with the due date for corrective actions 1, 3, and 4. I'll just add a couple of comments here. So in the February 5th letter, which is included in the board packet, Jeff Fugate made it clear that any further requests for extension would have to be made to the board and would likely not be supported by the division. On July 3rd, 2025, DRMS, let me backtrack a second. We didn't hear anything more from Mr. Murphy or Mr. Fognani following that exchange in early February. On July 3rd, 2025, DRMS sent the operator a reason to believe a violation exists and notice a board hearing letter, an RTD letter, for failure to post the additional required financial warranty. It was received by the operator on July 10th. Okay, moving on. And this really does get very text heavy, so forgive me, I'm just going to read from my slides. Reason for violation. The existing financial warranty is not adequate to reclaim the site in accordance with the approved reclamation plan. The operator has failed to post the additional required financial warranty within 60 days of the date of the notice of the adjustment, as is required by CRS 34-32-117, parent 4, parent C, parent 2, and rule 4.2.1, parent 2. Section 5 of NOI P 2012-011 indicates the operator is bound by all applicable requirements of the Colorado Mine Land Reclamation Act and all applicable rules and regulations of the Mine Land Reclamation Board. The operator has violated this provision of the NOI by failing to comply with CRS 34-32-117, parent 4, parent C, parent 2, and rule 4.2.1, parent 2, and can be found in default of their performance warranty required by CRS 34-32-117, parent 2. Staff recommendations. I have 3 slides of recommendations. With respect to the violation, staff recommends that the board find the operator in violation of CRS 34-32-117, parent 4, parent C, parent 2, and rule 4.2.1, parent 2, for failure to post the additional required financial warranty within 60 days of the date of notice of the adjustment. With respect to a cease and desist order, staff recommends that the board issue a cease and desist order in accordance with CRS 34-32-124, parent 2, parent A, prohibiting any further prospecting activities at the site. With respect to corrective actions, staff recommends that the board assess no corrective action. With respect to the civil penalty, pursuant to CRS 34-32-124, parent 7, the operator shall be subject to a civil penalty of $100 to $1,000 per day for each day during which the violation exists. However, due to the circumstances regarding the operator, staff is advocating that the civil penalties be waived. And with respect to permit revocation, pursuant to CRS 34-32-124, parent 6, parent A, upon a determination after a hearing that a violation of permit provision has occurred, the board may suspend, modify, or revoke such a permit. Staff recommends that the board revoke NOI number P2012-011 pursuant to CRS 34-32-124, parent 6, parent A. And finally, with respect to the financial warranty, pursuant to CRS 34-32-118, parent 1, parent B, a financial warranty shall be subject to forfeiture whenever the board determines that the operator is in default under a performance warranty and has failed to cure such default, although the operator has been given written notice thereof and has had ample time to cure such default. Staff recommends that the board find the $17,200 cash bond for NOI P2012-011 subject to forfeiture pursuant to CRS 34-32-118, parent 1, parent B. Pursuant to CRS 34-32-118, parent 2, direct staff to notify the operator and all financial warrantors, if any, that the financial warranty for NOI number P2012-011 may be ordered forfeited at a board hearing to be held at least 30 days after the receipt of such notice. That concludes the presentation. If you have questions, be happy to try to answer them.
If I could, Jeff Fugate here on behalf of the division. Before we field questions, I just wanted to just summarize a few things with this site. Lee touched on all of them, but I wanted to kind of highlight the important parts of this. Despite its name as the Smuggler's Gold Mine, this is not the traditional mine. It's a prospecting NOI. So it is exploratory in nature. The purpose of it is to see what you have out there to eventually move into a mine permit. This was issued in 2012, so this is a very old NOI, very minimal activity. Some years probably zero activity. And so as Lee indicated, typically, that's why the statute exists. There's a 5-year limit on how long you have to conduct your prospecting activity under an NOI before you either reclaim or convert it or try to obtain that mining permit. Lee also outlined a lot of other facts and factors going on at this site with the refuse on site and other conditions. This hearing itself is very narrow in scope. It's related to the failure to post that surety increase, that bond increase. And so that was the focus here, was to get that proper bond in place. The division believes it's unlikely that the operator will be able to post that increased bond. As the record reflects, extensions have been granted here because of Mr. Murphy's circumstances. We've tried to accommodate and afford him additional time to get things in order. Essentially was given a 120-day extension to post that bond. And he's made no effort, at least he's not communicated with the division. He's made efforts to post that bond. So despite his personal circumstances, we think it's appropriate to continue to move forward with the revocation of this NOI. And then my final note for the board is this isn't the final stage in this process. As you're aware, there is the next hearing for the forfeiture of the financial warranty itself. That's typically when the division considers the matter to be closed, when the NOI or permit is revoked and the bond is forfeited. That hearing will take place at some future date. So Mr. Murphy, even should the board move forward with revoking this NOI, he will still have some time to try to secure that bond. If he's able to secure and post that bond and inform the division, then we'll reassess the enforcement efforts on this. But our request today is that the NOI be revoked. We move forward into that next step as possible forfeiture and see if Mr. Murphy can secure that financial warranty. So thanks. Any questions?
What are the obligations under an NOI for report? Is there annual reports due on those? And I mean, why did this go on so long?
Yeah, we've received annual reports which indicate very little activity or no activity. As far are you asking why the NOI was not revoked earlier?
Yeah, it says if it's failure to complete prospecting within 5 years and it was issued in 2012, that would have been 2017.
2017, that's correct. I don't have a really satisfactory answer for you other than to say that staff has many obligations, and in order to manage them, there has to be some sort of a priority given, and most of the time I think priority would be given to active sites with mining permits where there's more potential for harm to occur. And this site unfortunately just evidently ended up being demoted in the priority order, so it hadn't been inspected since 2017. And the bond hadn't been updated since the NOI was initially issued.
And if I can supplement that, I think the board's aware there's typically a kind of a 4-year inspection cycle for operations. Obviously, those that are more impactful, more activity, are higher priority, often will be inspected more than once every 4 years. Because this is a small NOI, less than 2 acres, minimal activity. I think you're correct. This request in action could have been brought in 2017 or 18. It wasn't. So I think it just fell on the list of once inspected, the problems were noted, time was afforded to try to cure those issues. And this is where we find ourselves.
And so on site, there's no discharge, there's no water involved or anything.
That's correct. Yeah, there's no
So
discharge.
it's the security of access to the portal and the slope that's in the debris.
Yeah.
But there's no off-site impact.
I don't think there's any reason to suspect that there'd be an off-site impact. No, it's quite self-contained, and it's an area that's been historically impacted by mining. Board member Nelson, this is Russ Means for the division. A little bit more clarity and stuff on your previous question. Actually, the 5-year reclamation requirement and stuff came into effect and stuff in 2018 with some rule changes and stuff. So prior to that, there wasn't that 5-year reclamation. So that's a little bit of that time frame. Also, the annual reports and stuff that are submitted and stuff show no activity. In the last 10 years, NOIs have moved up and stuff in our inspection priorities. So prior to that and stuff, NOIs and stuff, because of the, quite frankly and stuff, the $86 fee and our priorities and stuff with permitted mines and everything else, NOIs and stuff took a little bit of a lower a priority. So, but what you're seeing now and stuff coming moving forward is staff is looking at these NOIs a little bit more, especially the older ones that have not had any activity and are stale. Back in about 2005, 2006, we actually had two specialists spend almost a year clearing out our NOI database. We had over 300 NOIs and stuff that were like this, that languished and stuff that nothing had been done. And we had to bring several of those and stuff to the board and stuff to get that cleared up, as well as just getting rid of some of the ones and stuff that were never done. So just a little bit of point of reference.
Thank you. And just, excuse my ignorance, but just for clarification, an NOI is what?
It's NOI stands for Notice of Intent,
Okay,
but it's a notice of intent to conduct prospecting.
okay. Thank you.
And this mine is inactive.
Well, just to be really specific, the permit is active, but there is no activity on the site.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I understood.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be clarified on this.
So from a permitting perspective, it does not have an inactive status. It has an active status. It's just that no activity is actually occurring. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's active on paper,
Exactly.
but in actuality, it's an inactive property. And it's been inactive for quite some time.
That's what the annual report record shows, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Murphy has fallen off
Oh,
a
dear.
little while ago.
Yeah.
Lee, do you have a phone number that you could try to give us a call and we can take the minutes and see if we can get back around?
And one of my questions for him is, does he want to mine it?
Drop off. More than 5 minutes ago.
No, it was. So.
That's a shame.
Yeah. Curious part time.
I tried to get it back on, he tried to pop back in and I hit admit. It fell right off, so
It ain't for him to come back on.
that's what we're working on right now.
Oh, you were talking about calling him?
See if he can get back on.
I don't have the phone number for him that I can get to easily.
Yeah, and I don't have this one. He gave me his email address, but.
Yeah.
We'll look it up in the permit system.
Who's that?
Not.
You know, while we're waiting, I do have a question.
Oh,
Just, have you guys met with him in person?
Yeah, he attended the inspection.
Hello. If the board can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah, fine. Okay.
For whatever reason, my connection stopped during Mr. Simmons' presentation on page 12. So for several minutes, I had no change in my screen activity, and I could not hear what was being said, but I did call in, and I've been able to hear some of the discussion over the last maybe 3 or 4 minutes. Just for the record, if you need my phone number, I can give that to you now, or just email it to you.
Mr. Murphy, this is Jeff Fugate with the Attorney General's office. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, thank you.
If you could, if it's not too much trouble, if you could email your phone number to Lee, I think you have his email address. That way we have it. If you do fall off, we'll be able to reach you. I'm not sure. It sounds like slide 12 is when you dropped off, so you maybe missed seeing about 5 or 10 minutes of the hearing. Could you hear any of the discussion?
I was able to hear the last maybe 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, when Mr. Simmons was talking about or explaining what an NOI was, and that we had, excuse me, submitted annual reports for activity or lack of activity on the site. That is what I was able to hear.
Madam Chair and Mr. Coiman, I'm not sure if you want us to summarize the last few slides at all for his benefit. I can shoot
No,
through them quickly.
it's fine. I'm familiar with the slides, but do you want me to just offer a few comments at this point? Because I don't know how long my voice is going to last.
Yes, we would like to hear your comments.
Okay. Firstly, once again, thank you for all of the patience that has been extended to me by the board and the division. As I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, I had a very unfortunate fall at the beginning of the year. Thank you. And I was hospitalized for many, many months. I sent through a copy of my medical costs from January 1 through July 31 of 2025, which exceeds 1.8 million. And I still have multiple things that have to be done to me, just in terms of remedying the things that have happened to me, from cancer through broken neck, through a number of aneurysms which should have taken my life. But somehow, by the grace of God, I'm still here and doing what I can to fight to protect any rights that I may or may not have at this moment specific to the mine. It's been extremely difficult talking to people, as you can imagine, getting the extended financial warranty. I was actually in a coma at the time when the warranty became due, and I don't remember much at all for the first part of the year. This is not a plea or a cry for feel sorry for me or anything like that. It's just the reality of life, I guess, and being absolutely bedridden, and now I'm confined to a wheelchair, but they are determined to, with all the therapy that I'm getting, to have me mobile and be able to get out and do things in a controlled environment initially, obviously, and then be able to do things such as getting back to the mine site, being able to do things with professionals on site from a safety and other perspective. Talking about safety, we have remedied the requests, be they late or the demands, in terms of the portal entrance, in terms of the shaft cover. We've had all of the tin and other garbage removed from the site. So the site is a lot more palatable in terms of any visitation or people wandering onto the site and just ignoring the signs of private property and safety concerns. My request, because I'm actually able to speak at this time, which I wasn't able to do previously, is I know the borders or the DRMS has made it clear that they don't want to offer me any kind of extension. I understand that. What I'm asking for is that I'm able, because I'm able to communicate now in a more meaningful way, to get legal representation, hopefully from Haynes Boone, and get the additional warranty posted. Please understand that people, partners, and others that I have in the business were not prepared to do anything because everybody was so sure I was going to die. And they didn't want to put more money into something where I was not going to be able to be at the helm or direct potential future operations, because that is my background, is underground mining with more than 45 years of experience. And that's specifically deep level mining, shaft sinking, tunneling, etc. I apologize if I'm rambling a bit, but I'm really struggling to concentrate. I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have, and I hope that the board will not just have a hardline approach on this, because I've missed deadlines. As I said earlier, I missed deadlines because they were totally out of my control. And I'm now starting to get better. For the first time in 2 years, the doctors and specialists have been able to determine what has been going on with me, specific to my cancer and my orthostatic hypertension. And they are now helping me with medication so that I can become mobile and become an active person in the community again. I'll stop rambling at this point. Thank you.
One question I have is your goal to resume some mining activity?
Yeah, very much so. Even if I'm not personally involved in the actual continuance of the operations, I'm able to provide all the consulting services that the business would need to be a safe operating entity.
I have a question. Who will succeed you in running this mining operation?
Well, that's a very good question. And we've talked about that. In fact, continuation of operations in my absence was discussed before I got so ill. And there are a number of consultants and professionals in the industry that I believe would be a great fit. But it does mean involving them in ownership of the company. And with everything that happens so rapidly, because we cannot determine when accidents happen to us or unfortunate events, I believe it's become an absolute priority for me to find the right person that can be on the site on a daily basis.
You talk about investors.
Yes.
You have investors in this enterprise?
Yes, when I started the company years and years ago, we had interested parties who put some funds into the company. We did the primary funding, which at that time was well in excess of $1.3 million. To date, the total expenditure on the mine exceeds approximately 1.7, if my memory serves me correctly.
Yeah, I think my question is, given your health situation, why aren't some of these investors involved in this process? Why aren't they visible?
They are, well, they're not mining people at all.
Well, that wouldn't make any difference if they've got money in this in this venture. I would think that they would want to protect that.
And I agree with that comment. Unfortunately, as I shared earlier, it's been extremely difficult for me to communicate with these people just because I haven't had the coherent thought process that I needed to either be convincing or giving them the confidence that they would need to continue supporting or just walk away.
Yeah, and I think it appears to me that in that they're not present, that they're not involved in this process, that they are willing to walk away, that's pretty much what their position is.
It could well, absolutely, and I can't argue that point.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a quick question about, you say there have been some changes on site that have been made. Have you provided that evidence to anybody on staff here? Any pictures?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I sent through photographs to Mr. Simmons, but obviously they went through fairly late. But they very clearly demonstrate the safety barricades that are in place, the locks, the removal of all of the garbage from site. All of that has been provided to the division.
Have you received those, Mr. Simmons?
I did receive an email with some photos on Monday afternoon.
Okay.
Too late for the board hearing. The photos show the padlocks have been replaced on the portal door and the shaft cover. And there was a photo of a trailer with some of the trash that was observed on the trailer. The photos didn't show a date. So I haven't been able to include it in the presentation.
And is there a requirement to have any fencing around to prohibit public entry or to provide public health and safety?
There's no requirement for fencing, but the site is signposted, and the mine entrances do need to be secured.
I have a question for the board. Is under the financial warranty, if we find this subject to forfeiture, there is a time process that gives him, essentially, I guess my question is, if he comes up with the $35,000 warranty in this period, what would be done?
Sure. Under the statute, we've got notice requirements. So if the board was to move forward with revoking the prospecting NOI today, direct staff to provide notice to the operator and the financial warrantor of the upcoming hearing for forfeiture of the bond. In this case, it's a cash bond. So Mr. Murphy is the only, and his company is the only one that would need notice. That hearing can't be set any sooner than 30 days after the board makes that finding. If the board wanted to Ms. Nelson, I may be reading your mind or ahead here. If you want to give him an extra 30 days to try to post the bond and that the hearing can be set no later than the October board hearing date. Yeah, he could use that time to try to secure the bond. If he were successful and he provided proof to the division that the bond was posted and accepted, then we would kind of review and decide if there's need for further enforcement. That would remedy that particular problem cited, that he would have posted the surety increase, although very late, he would have posted that bond.
Yeah.
So,
Mr. Murphy, did you understand, Mr. Fugate, on that you will be afforded some, if we move ahead, that you'd be afforded some time to come up with that bond in terms of 30 days?
I think I understand that if I come up with the balance of the bond within 30 days, then I'm not sure what happens beyond that.
Could you restate that, please?
sure, if he's able to come up with, what is the difference? 17,800 approximately, whatever the bond increase amount is. If he's able to secure that, post it with the division can verify that it is in fact a valid, acceptable bond, then we'd reassess whether further enforcement on that problem is necessary or not. And that's the focus of this hearing.
Yep.
That's not going to remedy the other issues cited in that inspection. Some of the pictures of the locks, the cleaning of the refuse on site, that's something the division staff will still have to verify.
Right.
And we're also still wrestling with the issue of the 5-year time limit on prospecting notifications. Again, this isn't a mining operation. This is prospecting. And so even if all of this is remedied, we're still dealing with a site that is many years beyond that 5-year reclamation time period.
Okay.
I don't know that answers it quite. If he posts the bond, we'll obviously reassess whether or not is further enforcement related to the surety increase, but that does not cure all of the other problems raised by DRMS in the inspection.
So the bond is one issue. The other issues have to be addressed also. And I think that there's been adequate time to address those issues. These are not new issues. These issues are 5 years old. The bond is the only new issue. Correct?
Well, arguably all of them are older.
Older, yeah, true.
The bond is the one that we focused on for this hearing because it's the most pressing for the division.
So again, if he did that, if we proceed with the staff's recommendations, I just want to make sure I understand what could happen. And he posts that 17,000 some change additional bonding, because there's no other corrective actions being proposed here today than the bond, that would take away that issue and he'd come back with corrective actions.
Potentially. I mean, there is no violation notice issued related to the other outstanding issues from the inspection report. Again, division focused on the surety increase as the notice of violation.
Yeah.
We'd have to verify if the photos that he provided are in fact true, if that trash was not just loaded onto a trailer and left there, if it was hauled off. But it's that first problem of reclamation extended beyond 5 years that is a difficult one to remedy. The division would likely re-engage and start that process of we need to commence reclamation, or we're going to proceed with a revocation enforcement action related to that. Does that sound right?
If you refer back to the inspection report, it's in the board packet, but I'll summarize. So the corrective action for that first problem was to submit a mine permit application. So there'd be a 110D permit application, which we discussed on the day, but we haven't seen any progress on that. That's also, I would argue, a more difficult challenge than any of the other 3 problems are to solve. I mean, assuming that $17,989 is available somewhere, that's quite straightforward to just provide that additional bond. Cleaning up the trash can be done in a day. Putting a couple more locks on is a 15-minute job.
Mhm.
But preparing a 110D mine permit application is not straightforward.
No, it's not.
I didn't get it. What was not straightforward? I'm sorry.
The corrective action for that first problem that was cited. So the fact that this prospecting has gone on for more than 5 years.
Yes.
The corrective action to address that problem was to submit a 110D mine permit application. And there hasn't been any progress made on that. And the point I was making is that that's quite a high bar. A 110D permit application is quite an onerous task.
So let me ask this from a different standpoint. Let's say that we agree with the cease and desist and we shut the mine down. Is the $17,000 bond adequate in terms of cleaning up the trash and securing the shaft and making it somewhat public proof?
Yes, I would say so. The task in the cost estimate that has the biggest dollar value is associated with importing topsoil to the site. And I think that if you put that task to one side and you look at the other things that are remaining, so the demolition of the structures, the sealing of the portal, making the shaft safe, those tasks I think could be accomplished with the existing bond. And then the balance could be used to import some topsoil, but maybe not as much as is specified in the reclamation plan.
Okay, so Mr. Murphy, I have a question. Who owns the land?
The company owns the land, and just
Your investors, you and your investors?
Yes, and just to confirm, we have put barricades up, and the photographs show that. We have removed the garbage and all of the nonsense from site. So there's not going to be duplicate cost in terms of that. I just wanted to be clear on those items. From our perspective, being afforded a small amount of time to get the remaining 18,000 approximately as a financial warranty in place, and then starting the process. Now that I'm personally starting to get healthier, we could start the 110D process for the mine. It's an onerous task. It takes a lot of time. It requires a lot of input from third-party professionals. And if I'm understanding what is being said to this point, we haven't made the start on any of that 110D work, primarily because when I was on site with Mr. Simmons, I said to him that is one of our future intentions, is to get a 110D permit, not within a 6-month period or within a 12-month period. We said we would. That is our intention, and that is still our intention. But I clearly need to be able to communicate with people, and I believe that I'm getting to a point where health is obviously a priority to me. A succeeding person to take over from me is a priority. Getting the 110D is a priority, and getting off the list of problem children for the DRMS and the board is an absolutely critical priority for me.
Madam Chair, Michael Cunningham, Division Director. I know this is a little out of process, but some of the comments and questions that we've had here have raised a few more. And if it's okay, I'd like to ask Mr. Murphy a couple questions. Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Michael Cunningham, Division Director. I just wanted to confirm that the 2 cash bonds that are posted for the smuggler mine, one was posted by Murphy Mining International in the amount of $13,000, $13,200, and a
Yes.
second cash bond by Smuggler Gold Mine LLC for $4,000. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. Yeah, that was put up by me.
Okay. Is Murphy Mining International still a valid company?
Yes.
It is. And who is the registered agent for Murphy Mining International?
I believe that I am, but the registered address I will email through to Mr. Simmons and just confirm that with him.
Mr. Murphy, can you confirm that Murphy Mining International was one of 3 companies that was indicted on 5 counts of securities fraud for soliciting $6 million from at least 55 Front Range investors?
Yes, I believe that it was.
And aside from providing a portion of the financial warranty, how was or is Murphy Mining International involved in this prospecting project?
It has an ownership position in the Smuggler Gold Mine.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Madam Chair, our mission is to foster and encourage the development of an economically sound and stable mining and minerals industry, and to encourage the orderly development of the state's natural resources. And I think the board knows from past experience that staff is incredibly flexible, and we understand there are factors that are outside of an operator's control, and we always seek to be flexible in those situations. As staff testified in this situation, I also think we've been incredibly flexible. We provided 7-month extension beyond what was allowed under regulations to cure these. Furthermore, this NOI was issued 13 years ago. NOIs were not intended to be issued for this long. We do have some NOIs that span, nearly a decade. And when you look at those NOIs, what you would expect is to see multiple modifications to the original NOI to advance that prospecting project to allow for future development of a mine site. In this instance, there's been no modifications to this NOI. And further, the inspection reports indicate that the last activity was in 2012, the year the NOI was issued. This NOI is not in line with the division's mission to foster an economically sound and stable mining industry, and I do believe it is appropriate to revoke this NOI. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have a quick question following up on that.
Go ahead now.
So Michael Cunningham, just as you're speaking through that, is that true? Even if, say, the NOI was to be revoked and sort of, get back on track with the timing, is it still possible for the operator to come back and try to work through a 110D permitting process, even with a revocation of the NOI?
Yes, there would be nothing that would prohibit Mr. Murphy from pursuing a 110D application at a later time.
So just from an administrative standpoint, I might clean up the process a bit more and sort of take this piece that's been hanging out there for a while with the NOI being a bit too long. Were he and his partners, still interested in pursuing this, they could still come back in and do a 110D for the same site.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you so much.
And if I could just add to that,
question-
sorry to interrupt.
I'm sorry.
That's kind of the point. I'll get Jeff, you get for the vision. That's the point of an NOI, is you explore, do some prospecting to decide whether or not you move forward into a mining operation and secure the proper permit, or you reclaim and you do nothing more. Those are the options he has here. Reclaim the NOI and do nothing more, or try to secure the proper permit for this.
So
This 13-year-old
So that-
kind of status is not what was intended with the prospecting notice.
so that I understand this, if we agree with the board, I'm sorry, if the board agrees with you, we shut the mine down, we pull the bond, we clean up the property, we secure the mine shaft. Then at that point, it's no longer operational, but Murphy and Murphy Enterprises and whoever else these investors are, they can reapply to reopen that mine, correct?
That's correct. If the board revokes today, set a hearing in the next coming months to forfeit the bond. Once that money is in the possession of the state, it will go to the inactive mines program. It'll go on their list for reclamation. Once that reclamation is completed with the funds and kind of as explained by Lee, they'll do what they can with the funds with kind of an eye towards public safety and safeguarding in mind. It's then considered a reclaimed site. Anybody can come back in and secure a mine permit. So Mr. Murphy and his company can, or somebody else who may have interest in that location.
So if we pull the bond, the state will do what this organization should have done over the past few years in cleaning up the property and securing the mine shaft. And then they can reapply if they want to, because they still own the property.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair and the board, Russ Means, just to clarify something that was on the aspects and stuff of mine closures and safety, you know, our bond calculations and stuff are based on engineered approved closures and that, not a wooden rotten box with a lock on it. So that's why the bond and stuff is so high, is because if our inactive mines program has to come in, we have very engineered specific designs and stuff for public safety. So there would be a back grate, possibly a lock closure and stuff and that put on the portal. And then the shaft and stuff and that probably would have some kind of a closure and stuff with a pup pillow or a concrete cap or something like that. And that, so that's why it's important and stuff and that for us to have that money available. That would be first, as was pointed out and stuff, was we would secure that for public safety, and then whatever else is left and stuff, we would do something to reclaim the site. May not be able to import soil, but certainly we could put out seed and other things and stuff in that to reclaim it.
So then I guess my question to you is, the current bond of 17,000, is that adequate to clean up the property and secure the mine shaft?
Yes, as Mr. Simmons testified and stuff, a large portion of this increase is because of the plan to import soil and other materials and stuff there. And so,
okay, so that would be adequate.
Yes,
The state would not have to pay additional funds to accomplish those two tasks, cleaning it up and securing the shaft.
yeah. No, Mr. Graves and the Inactive Mines program are very good at stuff and the funds available. So I don't have a doubt on that.
So it sounds like if we follow through on staff recommendations, then there are still options for them to move forward and to do it safely. Any more questions, comments? Maybe we're ready for a motion.
I close that. I would go to delivery.
Okay, we will
The
now
lawyer.
close testimony and go to board deliberations. And maybe move forward with the motion.
Yeah.
Any more deliberation on this?
Do I make the motion?
You can do
Okay,
that.
I motion that we agree with all the recommendations of the board.
For the staff.
So just for the sake of clarity, your motion would be to find the operator in violation,
And cease and desist.
cease and desist, assess no civil penalties, revoke the permit, find the financial warranty subject to forfeiture, and order the division to provide notice and set for hearing.
And to pull the bond.
Can I make a comment?
Well, we're supposed to be past comment time.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Um, There was talk of another 30 days.
He will have that.
Okay, that's in
As I
there.
understand, they'll have it through what Mr. Fugate said is we'll go into a notice period.
Okay,
for-
okay, so that's in the motion. Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, second. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye.
Nell is an aye?
Yes.
Okay. We are
done with that.
finished with this one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you for all your comments. Mr. Murphy. And good luck.
Thank you.
Okay. Should we have a quick little break before we move on to our next?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Quick little 10-minute break. And then we'll go.
I got this.
Did that.
Number 6.
My
I
presentation.
had to leave.
Sure, my seat.
One of which.
Thanks. Thanks for the warm seat. If it was cold, that would be one thing.
Presentation.
So we detailed in that one.
Yeah.
Board on the desktop.
Yep. You gonna run it for him or?
I'll start it for him when they bring him up.
I just got a break. We shut down the mines. So you'll feel better about that. But anyway. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, we're good.
okay, now we are reconvening and moving on to an enforcement hearing, file number M-2002-120. Burn Co. Colorado LLC. And we have people who will want to talk on this, and we need them to raise their hand and say, will tell the truth.
Yes, tell the truth.
Okay. Go right ahead.
Good morning, members of the board. I'm Nikki Gagnon. I'm an environmental protection specialist assigned to Weld County. I conducted the inspection at the Bernhardt Resource Mine. We're here today. This enforcement hearing is for the consideration of possible violations related to disturbance outside the permit area, hydrologic balance and erosion, floodplain protection, and topsoil retention. This is a mine location map. The Bernhardt Resource Mine site is located in Weld County, approximately 1 mile northeast of the town of Milliken. The Big Thompson River flows through the site. This is Highway 60 and the South Platte River is over here. An idea of where it is. The Burn Co. Colorado is the operator of this site. They are the third operator of the mine since 2002. The permit was transferred to Burn Co. in May of 2023. The current permit area is 291.64 acres. And the primary commodity mined here is sand and gravel. The postal mining land use will leave 4 developed water resources and rangeland in the upland areas. We currently hold a bond of $2,869,171. This is adequate. They recently posted this on August 5th, 2025. The surface landowner is Bernhardt Farms and Bernhardt Dairy Farm, and the water reservoirs will be operated by Central Colorado Water Conservancy. This is an image of the permit area. The yellow line on the outside is the permit boundary. Cell 2 is the active mining area right now. These are material stockpiles. Trucks come in right here in the corner. This is the area of activity. Cells 3, 4, and 5, mining is complete. These will be used to water storage reservoirs. They're currently slurry walled. Cells 3 and 4 are storing water, and cell 5 was the last one completed in the last couple of years. Over here is cell 1. This is the silt storage area. That'll be reclaimed. It will be backfilled and then reclaimed as rangeland once mining is complete. This is the area up here on the north side that we're going to talk about today. This is an overburden stockpile that the division observed on site. Before I go to the next slide, I just want to mention a couple things. There's a lot going on at this site. There's the mining operation, there's the water storage, and then the landowner owns a cattle operation in here in two locations, and he's also operating kind of a topsoil business on site. So we'll talk about a lot of these things today. The chronology: on March 20th, 2025, DRMS conducted a monitoring inspection of the Bernhardt Resource Mine. I did some additional file review and investigation, and it prompted a second inspection on June 20th of the mine site due to concerns that a stockpile was placed partially outside the permit boundary. On June 27th, 2025, Burn Co. submitted some photos of recent grading and a berm installed on the south side of the overburden stockpile. This was to mitigate erosion impacting the river. On July 11th, 2025, DRMS sent the inspection report and the reclamation cost estimate to the permittee. On July 14th, the division sent a reason to believe a violation exists and a notice of ward hearing to the permittee. And here we are today for the enforcement hearing. This is a zoomed in image from March 2nd, 2025. This is the stockpile adjacent to cell 5. So this is the stockpile. The division observed this overburden stockpile that extends outside of the permit area. This is the area outside the permit area, approximately 0.63 acres. The stockpile is approximately 15 to 20 feet tall. It has steep side slopes. It's not well stabilized. There's some weedy vegetation growing on it. The division estimates 0.63 acres are outside the boundary. That's just based on my inspection points that I took. This per CRS 34-32.5-116 parent 4 parent I, the operator shall protect all areas outside of the affected land from slides or damages occurring during the mining operation and reclamation. While we're on this slide, I want to point out one other thing. So the permit boundary is this yellow line, and the parcel boundary is this dashed blue line. When I was out there, there is a barbed wire fence along the parcel boundary. I'm not fully sure why the two diverge. In the far corner on the east side, there's a post marking the permit boundary, but it goes down, kind of slants across the site. My assumption is back in 2002, when they permitted this, there is a ridge along where the parcel boundary goes, and then it's an upland area, and then it kind of dives down into the floodplain. I think they were intending to avoid the ridge. That's why the permit boundary diverges here. But the division does have a rule, 3.1.12, that all the boundaries of the affected area should be marked by monuments or boundaries that are clearly visible and adequate to delineate the boundaries. So this area should have been marked so that they were aware that they were outside the boundary, even though there's a barbed wire fence marking the parcel. This is the approved mining plan that was approved in 2019. I zoomed into cell 5. This is cell 5 right here, this large area. This is the area where the stockpile sits. The dashed line is the 100-year floodplain. If you look at this mine plan, there was no disturbance to happen in this area. This is just, all this shows is the floodplain. The circles on the map are just vegetation that they were showing. If you see the river flowing through the site, they show the riparian vegetation. This was never intended to be a stockpile area. It was never intended to be mined. I'm not sure why the tile here, but this was not part of their original plan.
But it is their land.
It is their land. It's their, yeah, well, it's the land owner. There's a landowner. It's not Burn Coast land. They don't own the land. No. This is an image I took during the inspection. This was taken on June 20th. This is the stockpile, and this is the portion that's outside the boundary. This is the back northwest corner of it. You can see the parcel boundary is marked. So that's what I was talking about before, that the permit boundary and the parcel boundary diverge. This stockpile is sitting up against the parcel. This, they note the steep slopes here, the weedy vegetation, there's, erosion rills. This is not a well-stabilized stockpile. Next, I'll go into the hydrologic balance and erosion. This is a photo I took of the Weld County property coral site, and it clearly shows this, what I call a stormwater pathway. And during my inspection, I observed this sediment pathway going to the river. Other than a tire installed right here adjacent to the river that was collecting sediment, no other erosion control measures were noted in relation to this stockpile. The 2019 reclamation plan states that all mined material disposed of within the affected area will be handled in such a manner as to prevent any unauthorized release of pollutants to the surface drainage system. Per CRS 34-32.5-116 parent 4 parent H, the operator is required to minimize all disturbances to the prevailing hydrologic balance of the affected land and the surrounding area, and to the quality and quantity of the water in surface and groundwater systems, both during mining and after reclamation. Additionally, per CRS 34-32.5-116 parent 4 parent J, the operator is required to stabilize all spoil piles to effectively control erosion. These are the photos I took of this sediment path during my inspection. This is the stockpile in the background. This is the sediment flow path. This is the tire I'd mentioned. It's kind of right at the river. It's collecting sediment, but it's full. Next, I'm going to talk about floodplain protection. The blue shading shown on the map is in the image above is the designated 100-year flood zone, and it goes across cells 1, 3, 4, and 5. This is a code AE flood zone, and that is kind of a high-risk area. In addition, there's a floodway. The red hatched area is a floodway that's marked, which is a special hazard area on top and within a flood zone where the strictest rules apply. And generally, a floodplain development permit is required whenever you're operating within a floodway. Encroachments within regulatory floodway are prohibited, including fill, development, outside storage of materials. And development is under FEMA's rules is defined as buildings or structures, mining, dredging, filling, grading, paving, excavating, or storage of equipment and materials. So a stockpile in the floodway would be prohibited. If you look at the stockpile up here, the floodway is partially, the stockpile is partially in the floodway, but it's fully in the 100-year floodplain. I looked at their original application, and amendment or Exhibit M said that they would obtain a floodplain development permit for this site. But I looked at the Weld County development permit mapper, and there is no development permit that I could find for this site. So per CRS 34-32.5-124, the operation fails to comply with conditions of a permit or a regulation. Last thing I'm going to say on floodplain protection is this is the 2019 reclamation plan. When they came in for an amendment, the division asked them to install spillways on the reservoirs once they were completed. There is a spillway installed on Reservoir 3 right now. However, they have not installed a spillway on Reservoir 4, and it's currently holding water. And then Reservoir 5 was completed recently, and they need to install 2 spillways. And this is a floodplain mitigation. It's one of the things DRMS requires if you're within 400 feet of a river. Topsoil retention. The division did not observe any topsoil salvaged stored on site or placed above the water line. They haven't placed any topsoil on the completed reservoirs, cells 3, 4, or 5. The 2019 plan depicts stockpile locations. Those are these shaded areas. These are called stockpiles on their map. And the mining plan states that topsoil would be stripped and stockpiled and segregated in piles at the edge of the active mine. During reclamation, topsoil would be uniformly placed on disturbed areas at a minimum thickness of 6 inches above the finished grade. Topsoil not needed for reclamation may be sold. According to the landowner, he was present at one of the inspections. He said that the previous operator of the site sold all the topsoil. So this is a violation of CRS 34-32.5-116, parent 4, parent G, and rule 3.1.9 for failure to retain topsoil for reclamation, and CRS 34-32.5-124 for failure to comply with the conditions of the permit or regulation. And finally, I talked about the multiple uses at this site. This is a photo of a processing area at the base of this stockpile that we're talking about today. I'm standing on the topsoil pile looking out at cell 5. During the inspections, the division observed the landowner is processing this overburdened pile and mixing it with manure from his cattle operation. The landowner sells the material. Birdco stated they're working with the landowner to purchase this overburdened manure material to use as a growth medium in replacement of topsoil. But it's important to note that the operator doesn't really have control of this area. This is the landowner's operation. But the division needs to bond for topsoil. So in the volume inspection, the division updated the bond to ensure the cost of import and delivery of topsoil, because we don't have any agreement with the landowner. The state doesn't, and we don't know about the agreements that they've made with the landowner to obtain topsoil for this site. So I think it's just important to point out that the landowner has some things going on here that he's operating underneath their mining permit, basically. So based on the findings of my inspections, the division believes Birdco is in violation of the following: CRS 34-32.5-116, parent 4, parent I, for failure to protect areas outside the affected land from slides or damages occurring during the mining operation and reclamation. CRS 34-32.5-124 for failure to comply with the conditions of a permit or regulation. CRS 34-32.5-116, 4, parent H, for failure to minimize disturbances to the prevailing hydrologic balance of the affected land and of the surrounding area, and to the quality and quantity of water in surface and groundwater systems, both during and after the mining operation and during reclamation. CRS 34-32.5-116, 4, parent J, for failure to stabilize spoil piles to effectively control erosion. And finally, CRS 34-32.5-116, 4G, and rule 3.1.9 for failure to retain topsoil for reclamation. The staff recommends the following corrective actions. For the offsite damage, the stockpile that's out of bounds, within 90 days of the board's order, require the operator to submit either a 112C amendment application to the existing permit to incorporate the affected land outside the approved boundary, or they could apply for a 110C permit application just for the overburdened stockpile area to include the affected area outside the approved permit boundary. Either application must be in approvable form within statutory timeframes. We also recommend that within 90 days of the board order, we require the operator to submit a report to DRMS detailing their progress of obtaining compliance with the applicable floodplain permitting requirements or regulations. We also ask that they submit a technical revision to the reclamation plan to include an erosion control plan or address this within the amendment process. They can do that as part of the 112 if they choose to. And also a technical revision to the reclamation plan to address lack of topsoil retained on site and how growth media will be obtained for reclamation. And they can also address this in an amendment if they choose to do that instead of the technical revision. The civil penalty pursuant to CRS 34-32.5-124 parent 7. An operator who violates any provision of a permit shall be subject to a civil penalty of not less than $100 per day, nor more than $1,000 per day for each day of which such violation occur. In this matter, the board may assess a civil penalty of $3,700 to $37,000 for 37 days of violation. We calculated this from the date of the RTB letter, the reason to believe letter that was sent on July 14th to the date of this board hearing. The division recommends the board assess a total civil penalty of $27,750. That's $50 a day, with all but $3,700 suspended if the corrected actions are cited above are completed to the satisfaction of the division within the required deadlines. The total civil penalty will be $27,750. The suspended portion would be $24,050, and the unsuspended portion is $3,700. Payment of civil penalties are due within 30 days of the mailing of date of the board's order. That is all I have today. The operator is also here. They have a presentation. I'm happy to answer questions before you hear from them.
Questions?
I have no questions at this time.
Just curiosity, on the corrective action, the fact that the operator can either get a amendment to his existing permit or a new permit. I mean,
Yeah, that's a good question. So we met with the operator and we're trying to find the most efficient way to get the site reclaimed. They're almost done mining. Most of the mining is done. They need to reclaim the site. The 110C permit is offered because they could permit the 110 on top of their existing permit, and it can act as a separate mining permit. The landowner has his own operation going on here, and we thought it might be better and more efficient to permit a 110 and negotiate with a landowner, find out what his ultimate plans are here, and then they can continue with their 112 operation. It's a quicker process because a 110 has a 30-day comment period and a 112 has a 90-day comment period. A 112 is a much more detailed application. So we're not telling them which one they have to submit. We are giving them two options. If they get into it and they decide they want to make other changes to their 112, then they should do an amendment for this whole thing. But the 110 is really to allow an option and in their negotiations.
thank you. That helps.
The question that I have regarding the topsoil, which is supposed to be retained, where is it?
The previous landowner told me that it was sold. I think the operator has an answer to that question. So the operator can address that when they're up here. They'll tell you what happened to it.
So it's on the property?
Not that I know of. I'm not sure.
We don't know where it is.
We're not sure. Yeah.
It doesn't appear to be based on our inspections.
Yeah.
So that's a violation that can't really be corrected.
Well, what we did is we increased the bond for the importation and delivery of topsoil. That way that protects the state. If the state were to take this over, we would have to bring in topsoil. For them, they're going to have to find topsoil for this site.
Okay, thank you.
And if they do that, if through their properties, that's when the bond would increase for the topsoil.
We've already increased the bond and they already posted it.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. My owners.
I'm wondering about the stockpile going into the big Thompson River. That seems like a big problem.
Yeah, they need to install some erosion control structures. That's why we're asking within 90 days, they submit an erosion control plan to tell us how they're going to address the erosion of the stockpile and what their ultimate plan is for the stockpile. Would you like to hear from them?
Yes, I think
Operator?
we're ready.
I'm going to stop sharing. There we go. Ready? You go.
Right. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Joel Bolduc. I'm the Land Environment Manager at Burnco, Colorado. And with me,
I'm Chris Astrike. I'm the General Manager of Aggregates for Burnco, Colorado.
okay, we have a short presentation. I got really good news for you. We agree with most everything that DRMS has presented, and we agree on the solution, and there are solutions to every problem that exists here. So we'll run through the details here. The DRMS identified 4 issues, and I have this structured to address those 4 issues and provide context and some additional information.
Jared, can we?
To advance.
Oh, yeah, just zeros down and using.
Well, it's showing on ours, but not on TV.
It's sharing with the people on Zoom.
So it's.
But it's not advancing,
But
but
they
they
can't
can't
see
see it.
The TVs aren't showing it.
In the meantime, as Nikki said, just to give a little background, this site is very complicated. And frankly, had the leadership team we have today in charge of Burnco, Colorado set up this site, it would have been set up very differently. And there would have been a more fulsome understanding of the regulations. That being said, it is our site, we inherited it, and we have the obligation to do what's right. So just want to preface this that as a proud mining engineer, this is not how I would have set up a mine site. But we have what we have, right? And so we are committed to fixing it and getting on sides with the regulations. But there are quite a few permutations to this site, as you'll see.
And you folks, bought as is.
Yeah. When we purchased Best Way Concrete and Aggregates, fair to say, I think there was a little more due diligence that could have been done. But we live and we learn, and like I said, we're the ones here now taking ownership of it. So
Thank you for that.
of course.
Yeah. So the first issue identified by DRMS is disturbance outside the permit area related to the Pond 5 stockpile. And the material was placed outside the permit area partially due to confusion over the location of the permit boundary. I'll have a map on the next slide that shows that a little better. This picture here shows the material did come out of Pond 5. The topsoil and the overburden was mined or stripped from the Pond 5 area and placed west of the pond.
Yeah, so as you can see, the confusion was the belief from previous operator was that the permit boundary aligned with the fence line. And clearly that's not the case. It was a simple misunderstanding of where the line was, hence why it was placed outside of the permit boundary, but within the fence line of the property line. Yep.
So we take responsibility for the material being outside the permit boundary. These two can't work together because now this is not changing. So
It's all good. As long as you guys can see it. That's
yeah. So the north confusion on the north boundary. So this red line here is the property line. And you'll notice that the yellow line is the permit boundary. And they are the same line on the west, east, and south sides. But on the north side, for whatever reason, when this was permitted, inexplicably, they did not run the permit boundary along the property line. Unfortunately, this happens more often than you might expect. And if I had $1 for every time it happened, I would be a wealthy person. So there's just a really slight difference between the two lines. And of course, this north edge of the stockpile ended up in between these two lines. So if this had not happened, we would probably not be here today. Let me see. This is a document I found in our records. This is from 2019. And the small box on the top, on the north side of the permit area that's in black with orange lettering indicates that at least internally, the understanding was that the property line was the DRMS permit boundary. And it just reflects the confusion that existed internally. We still are responsible for the permit boundary, but I wanted to indicate, I found this in 2 different documents internally, and wanted to share that with you. After the inspection in June, a number of actions that we have taken to address the situation. The first thing we did was to have a survey completed to understand the problem and identify when we're going to fix it, how far we needed to bring the pile back. So the survey indicated that we had 0.7 acres outside the permit boundary. On July 18th, we rented a dozer and started moving. It's going to total about 60,000 cubic yards. That was 37,000 was outside the permit boundary, but in order to move it inside the boundary, we had to excavate material that was inside the boundary to make room for the stuff coming from the outside. So total will be about 60,000 cubic yards. Today, as we speak right now, 90% of that work is complete, and the rest will be done in the next 10 days. The picture on the right shows the excavation that's going on in between the property line and the permit boundary. The second issue identified by DRMS is the hydrologic balance and erosion. The inspection was completed on June 20th, and for awareness, we made corrective actions by June 26th when this picture was taken. It's hard to see, but on the right side, there is a large berm on the right side. It's not visible from down below here, but that's to capture most of the stormwater from most of the stockpile and direct it to the east to the pond. Additionally, there is a small catch berm on the left side of the road to catch anything that falls on the outside of the larger berm. Floodplain protection was the third item. Permitting here, to our knowledge, was addressed in 2002. All stockpile materials that are seen in this area were taken from within the floodplain. So it's so there's no net change. What was excavated created a hole, and it was placed on top of the ground. And so those at least partially offset each other. And then
with the net, I mean, with the excavation of the sand and gravel from below the overburden, there's actually a net cut on that property, if that makes sense.
There's more volume below grade than created than there is stockpile above. Yep. Finally, the stockpile will be removed. As Nikki indicated, there is a topsoil screening operation on the site, and there's trucks leaving the site daily. We are also going to use this material for reclamation on the site. Roughly half of the stockpile will be used on site. So, okay. Then regarding topsoil retention, there is adequate topsoil on the site. So there was a misunderstanding. I gave bad information to Nikki because I had bad information. Friday, we figured out, Friday last week, that when we started, at least when I saw the pictures of the excavation work that's ongoing, what happened here is Nikki and I were looking at the east end of this stockpile, and it's overburdened. However, the west end of the stockpile, which was covered and vegetated, was not visible. But now that we've opened up, we've realized that when this pile, when this pond 5 was stripped, the topsoil was placed at the west end, and then the overburden was placed on
Next to it on the east.
next to it on the east side. So so we do have topsoil on the site. And that's what the landowner is taking both materials, topsoil and overburden, screening them and mixing them. And then with manure amendment, because they run a dairy farm, they are able to create topsoil that is usable for reclamation. And yep.
To my knowledge, we signed the purchase order with Bo, with the landowner to purchase that amended material for placement and used in reclamation on the site, which should be taking place by spring was the original timeline. Sorry, you have your timeline. Sorry.
Yep, that's okay. Timeline for the site, just real briefly, permits were issued in 2002. Mining was completed in 2024, and 4 reservoirs were created. And then DWR certification is essentially done at this point. 3 are fully certified, and the report to get the 4th certification has been prepared and will be submitted shortly. In August of 2025, this month, a couple of weeks ago, we did complete the bid process for reclamation of the site. And it includes 2 purchase orders totaling $1.5 million. One is to purchase the topsoil that's on site. And the second piece is to grade out the site, place the topsoil, and seed it. And that's where we are today. And then what needs to come down the line here in the very near future, we need to complete the reclamation and then install the 3 flood spillways. And we intend to complete the reclamation, but really primarily within the next 6 months, and then be ready to seed come March of 2026. Regarding the path forward, so we agree a penalty in this situation is appropriate, and we acknowledge that. Also, the recommendations regarding the floodplain report, erosion control plan, and topsoil TR, technical revision for topsoil, are also appropriate. We do request that we not be required to submit a 112 amendment or a 110 permit application. And the reasons for that are a permit action, in our opinion, is not needed to complete reclamation. We agree on the path forward with DRMS. There's no disagreement on what we need to do to reclaim the site. Corrective actions have been and are being implemented. And then we did not extract material outside the permit boundary. We gained no financial benefit by placing the material there. The affected area is owned by one owner who is not concerned. We didn't place material on a neighbor's property and the neighbor's upset. That's not what's happened here. The amendment and permit process introduces administrative steps and costs for both parties that are not needed to complete the reclamation. And then minor revisions that are needed can be done through the technical revision process. And then finally, we do have an updated bond in place to ensure completion of all of these requirements. So happy to answer any questions that you may have.
My main question is just what you were talking about. And it might be more of a Nikki question. Why Nikki was suggesting the 110, but is that really necessary is what they're questioning.
Well, anytime you affect lands outside of a permit boundary, you're effectively mining without a permit, and that includes stockpiles. They are processing material. I don't have a mechanism of changing that. You have to permit this area. So that's, I think, why they're pleading their case to you.
And there's still an obligation that, I mean, they're doing the work, but it's accountability measured by through the process, right?
It's,
That-
they would still have to
That's a
remember that.
horrible precedence if we don't, I would assume. Moreover,
That-
not for you folks, but for everybody else.
Madam Chair and Board, just to reiterate a little bit, it's affected lands, even though they didn't mine it, they did affect it. It's like building a road or whatever. You're not mining, but you did affect that. And the board can't hold a bond on unpermitted areas. So that's where we're in a catch-22. And so totally understand and stuff and appreciate and stuff what Burnco's doing and stuff here. But that's where we're at and stuff is can't hold a bond and stuff on something that's not permitted and that. So that's why we're looking at different options and stuff here in that. And certainly the 110, we've done, the board has done it in the past where it's 110 for reclamation. And that's the plan, is just the reclamation part of it. So it's a 110 light, if you will, and stuff. There's no other additional mining or anything else. But the board in the past and stuff has, for situations like this where it's an acre or two or something that's outside, they've done said do a permit in that to cover that area and no mine, no future further mining disturbances and stuff, but reclamation and stuff.
Just curiosity with the upcoming regulations, once they're promulgated, to take care of this, would that be a mechanism?
Not for construction materials,
Not
yeah,
for
and also for hard rock, it would not, if somebody has a permit, they can't get a 110R reclamation related stuff in that, because that's would circumvent the idea and stuff of having an active permit, so that's a total separate thing.
And if it's the decision of the board that not to grant that request, and we're more than happy to fill out the 110 application. And we appreciate the staff's flexibility of offering that as an option as opposed to the 112 amendment. Sort of have to plead your case and
Understand. And personally, I'm sure most of us here really applaud what you're doing as the new owner to this property and inheriting and taking accountability. That says a lot for the company. So thank you for that.
So the bottom line is legally, there needs to be that permit.
What are the options?
I mean, the 110. I mean, the other one would be legal too, but can't just do away with both. Because it's in law.
And a question on the overburden stockpile, is there a clear demarcation between topsoil and overburden on this site?
No, it's one big pile. I mean, it is separated, but it's not a separate pile. It's
I mean,
one
a
big
donor
pile.
operator can see where he's starting to get
Correct.
topsoil versus overburden.
Yeah.
Correct.
yeah,
That's
through the eyeball
It-
test, yeah, you can see the difference, but the piles essentially are next to
mixed.
touching each other.
Yeah, this picture here indicates the darkness of the material that is on the west side. Partially due to the sun and the shadow,
The sun
but
glare doesn't help.
but
Gotcha.
Any more questions?
if I can ask a question, is there any provision to provide 90 days before we commit to a permit amendment or permit action? Is there any allowance for that?
Yeah, this is Chuck Quinn, an attorney for the board, but my understanding was that was the deadline on the corrective action, that within 90 days, you do one or the other.
Oh, I meant, is there a provision to give us 90 days before requiring the permit action?
So we can evaluate the options of a 112.
Yeah,
Well-
I'm not quite sure what you mean.
This is Russ Means for the division. So yeah, I think there's some room and stuff there. Under the corrective action is you have 90 days and stuff in that to submit something and stuff, but they could be modified in that to, we're agreeable to that. To maybe, allow time and stuff for the operator to figure out what they want to do. And then the 90 days to decide which way to go and then the issue and stuff is how much time and stuff and that after that is to submit an application. Because if it's 90 days and 90 days, then we're 180 days, a half a year. And that's caveat and stuff I would bring up. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My question was really, if we, in the next 90 days, resolve the issue, so to speak, completely remove the material from outside the permit boundary and seed it, we won't have full growth, obviously, after 90 days, but is there any opportunity to do an inspection, let's say even 45 days from now, verify that the affected area outside the permit boundary has been addressed, and then preclude the need for a permit action?
Russ speaks for the division. In my opinion, in my perspective, no, I understand what we're trying to do, but that's, but just because of the way the law is and the obligations from this division and the board and stuff, and that makes it problematic and stuff from a legal standpoint.
And so we understand that. That's because even though if it's seeded and all that, it's still in the reclamation stage, there'd still be a bond on that.
It's affected until it's not affected, until we release it. Yeah.
Nice try.
Questions? Motion anywhere?
I'll make a motion that we accept the staff's recommendations for, do we need to read these all? It's happy to.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just.
Yeah.
You could say, find the violations as outlined by the staff, and then
Violations.
Can I do it that way?
Corrective actions, which does include that in 90 days from this order that you will submit either the 112C or the 110 for that affected area. And then the floodplain and the other provisions under the corrective action. The civil penalty with, please understand, all but 3,700 will be in the situation be waived. Violation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 violations, and corrective actions again within 90 days. And you believe that that's sufficient to carry out that work?
Correct. I would ask that some of the topsoil language perhaps be revised, because we have found out that we do have topsoil on site. And we don't need to do that here, but
Yeah, staff would have to review that and everything else. I think the corrective action probably leaves us a path and stuff where we can take a look at that and go forward.
This is kind of a point in time.
Yeah.
And I think just make sure administratively it's all documented that it doesn't seem like there's that much action, but still needs administratively to be answered. And then the civil penalty provisions. I make a motion to accept all that big package.
I second the motion.
Great. We cover that motion. So much in there. All in favor, say aye.
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 Now it's aye.
Yep.
Well, thank you all. Thank you for all of your work.
yep, thank you.
We appreciate the quick response and not waiting for the process to catch up with us.
We see it, we own it.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Okay, number 7 is withdrawn. And so we have a discussion item. And Russ is getting ready for that. Yes.
It won't be that long.
Good morning, Madam Chair and the board. Today and stuff, I have a couple of updates for you and then also a brief discussion item and that. So to start off with, on July 23rd, staff held its first informal rulemaking. We had solid attendance by operators and consultants. We had a very good discussion with some helpful suggestions. Construction materials discussions kind of focused on temporary cessation language, and we made it through rules 1 and 2. Further talks and clarifications regarding TC and the definition of production and stuff. It seems like we need to do a little bit more discussions and stuff with industry on that, but we are engaged in that. Also, for the hard rock, we made it through rule 3, but we kind of suspected stuff that we're going to have some further discussions and stuff on that next week and stuff, a brief discussion. And we also have some side discussions going with industry on some of the comments and stuff that were submitted in writing there. So that said, we are pleased with the progress and we're hoping to bring both meetings up through rule 6 next week. We'll just see how that goes. Like, we're not on, as we've said repeatedly, we're not on the time frame to our schedule. So if we need more time, then we'll have it. On the other hand and stuff, if we can move the process forward and get it to the formal process, we'll continue to do that. The second item on my list today is the Jack Starner Awards. Some of the board may be aware, some of others may not, but each year the Mine Land Reclamation Board, through staff in conjunction with CSSGA, recognizes unique reclamation techniques and overcoming challenges in the construction materials industry. This year we'll be announcing nominations on September 2nd and take them all the way up to October 31st. We're updating the language to broaden the categories a little bit and also to include community engagement, which we know is important not only to the division, but also to the board. The third item on my list is there's opportunity possibly for a slurry wall installation field trip. CSSGA, along with Burnco, have reached out to provide an opportunity for the boards maybe to see a slurry wall installation. We know that in previous hearings, and you'll see them again and stuff because it's a common practice, slurry walls, you have questions and stuff on it. This will be an actual opportunity to see one being installed. So at this point, it looks like that will be October 16th and it'll be up in Weld County. Talking to Chuck, what we want to do and stuff is we want to notice that as part of the regular board hearing because it's on a Thursday, so that we meet the requirements of the Open Meetings Act and that, so that we're covered there, so that more than one of you can go out and watch it. So if you're interested, please send an email to Cami, just an email of interest, and then we'll work out the details, timing, and confirm and stuff that it's actually going to occur. I'll have more information possibly in September, but if you're interested, let us know. We'll get the logistics worked out. We can probably leave from here with a couple of state vehicles and take you up there, bring you back, or we can meet up on site. We can figure all that stuff out in that. So, and then a fourth item is stuff that I just threw in here just to from today. Through some discussions and stuff, it looks like maybe we'll have an educational opportunity to discuss NOIs and the processes and stuff there. So I'm going to be working with staff on that too. And one of our future board meetings here shortly, we'll come in and stuff and just talk about the entire process and that, because it's a whole different animal than permitting and stuff. And there's some different requirements and some other things and stuff there. But we can talk about general items and the processes and stuff there without having any kind of enforcement or other issues and stuff there. But it'll be a good opportunity for a discussion there. And finally, I wanted to touch base briefly on our public notice forums. As you're aware, we held 3 meetings two last fall and then one this spring regarding our public notice process. So attendance was light. Even though we had it on our website and we sent out emails to operators, consultants, and non-governmental organizations. Comments range from things as, hey, they're as good as it can be, as to you should dump the entire statute and start all over. So you can see that there's quite a bit of a range and stuff there. So, but through our listening, there was no intent and stuff in that to really be, we're looking at ways and stuff to improve things, looking stuff at pinch points and stuff. But overall and stuff, there were a lot of one-offs and individual issues or individual agendas, if you will. But there was nothing really concrete that came out of these meetings. So there was not an aha moment, if you will, and stuff with that. So the operators and consultants are glad to see some of the modernization of the ways we're going to get notices out that are proposed in the new rulemaking. We did some updates in Hard Rock, and we'll be doing that in construction materials. But we're also fine-tuning both of them to take into account e-permitting, our electronic filing, as well as some of our other jurisdictions and the way they receive things. So we want to make sure and stuff that you're aware of that. Some of the issues that did pop up that may have further discussions and stuff down the road, the 200-foot notice requirement and stuff for landowners, adjacent landowners. One side says that's just fine. One side says it should be way, way more and stuff. So, but that's something that's in statute. So in order to change anything there, that's something that we can change in the rules. We'll have to, if we were going to look at that, the board would have to consider what that would be and see a path forward and stuff like that. But that would require legislation and going through that process. The other part of it too is county clerk notices. It's always kind of a pain for applicants and that to take the notices and stuff, the permit, actual copy of the permit to the county clerk. 9 times out of 10, you call up and the county clerk, the admin staff that's there doesn't even know it's there, but it's there. We have proof of that they're required to give us proof, but it's not there. So we're looking at some way and stuff to help with that process and have some further discussions there. And then the other issue that came up is commenting on applications and stuff once the public comment period is ended. When we have our public comment period, it ends, and by statute, it says that's it. Well, when we go through a review process, as the board's really aware of, we'll have 3, 4, and sometimes a very complicated applications, a number of adequacy reviews and stuff. But the general public doesn't get a chance to really step in. If they're a party, they don't get an opportunity to step in and take a crack at what we're looking at in that. So, but that's in statute again. So that's something in that the board at some time and stuff and that may consider and stuff as we go down through there. So with that, I wanted just to highlight, you've heard some of this, but I want to highlight some of the things and stuff that staff has done to help try to improve our transparency. So there was a request and stuff that we work on improving our website. So we have done that. It's been about a year now, but now you can go on to our website, go right to an actual page there and see all the applications and stuff that are under review, kind of their status and stuff there. It's always a little bit in flux because the EPSs are working on them and it changes and stuff and that, but there's an opportunity there for the public to take a look at that. Our contact information is on our Facebook page. So it's there. We can't put notices and stuff out on the Facebook page and stuff like and that, but the contact information and stuff is there. So the other thing we worked on is e-notifications with other jurisdictions. This is providing more time for them to review that application and give us comments back in a timely fashion. Before there was a lot of times and stuff, by the time the person that actually could make the real comments and stuff on it got it, we were already, the process was already closed. So we're trying our best and stuff to get that information out to our other stakeholders as fast as possible. And with the new rules, of what we have envisioned and stuff there is the implementation of a QR code to direct parties and stuff to our website. So come up to a My Permit sign, there's a QR code, you can do that and it would take you and stuff to our website. Someday in the far off future and stuff, maybe with GIS and stuff, it would take you directly to that permit, but that's talk that we have and stuff. But the most important thing is at least it would get somebody there. And also we're looking at making that a requirement on our public notice for a mine permit. or somebody could come up to a notice and see that QR code and go from there. So, and finally, we created an informal guide that goes out to objectors with the citizens participation guide. Once the public comment period is closed, we send out the citizens participation guide, which we just updated in the last year, I think, and maybe a little bit longer, and that time flies. But we actually, through a comment, we took our informal meeting PowerPoint, we ran it through AI and came up with a guidance. And then I edited it and stuff and that. So it explains and stuff, part of the processes and stuff that a citizen is responsible for, also their rights and explains the process and that. So there's 2 documents out there. And the most important thing that does is it creates a direct communication between objectors and the EPS and stuff that's looking, has a review of that site. So there's a little bit more direct contact. But overall, from my perspective is that the applicants in the division, we throw out a broad net. Direct notices, newspaper notices, social media where we can and also are allowed. We have some IT constrictions and stuff there that get it out, but we get the word out. So if someone is here before you, they got noticed somehow. So they may not like the process, but they are standing here before you and stuff and that and are part of that part. So we will continue to look for better ways to reach out to stakeholders. We will continue to modernize where we can. We are open to adding other methods if they're suggested and they're feasible and don't run afoul of the act and the rules. And at some point, statute changes could be contemplated. But in the end, as I've noted, wherever we are at, no matter where we draw the line, there's going to be somebody on the other side of that. So it has to be fair to the applicants. It also has to be fair to the public. And it also has to be something that's feasible for the division and stuff to work with. So with that, if you have any questions or anything, I'll take those. Otherwise, I'll call it a day. No
questions. You don't need to hire people, you can just use AI.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more of a thing, So yeah.
So I appreciate you folks volunteering to give us a little bit of education around the NOI process and stuff. Could you guys also include the statistics around it? How many active, how many over time have gone from NOI to, a mine permit or stuff like that, just so we kind of get in our head how big of an issue this is or isn't in the state.
You bet. Yeah, we can certainly pull up that information and you get some graphs and some data and stuff for you on that. Yeah. So,
thank you.
Okay.
Is there a guidance document for the applicants?
Yeah, it was interesting to do that, and that you take the PowerPoint and then you run it through AI, and it was close, but part of it and stuff is a little bit of writing style, if you will, but some of it wasn't quite right. It's a tool, you don't rely on it, and that's what through our training and stuff, we're not allowed to use it until we've gone through some specific training in that. And that's the thing that's driven home and stuff is that, you get the information, but don't trust it, verify it. Yeah. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you.
And it's time for public comment. I don't think we have any public for that. And executive session, I don't think we're doing that.
Yeah.
So this meeting is adjourned.
There we go. Make it with authority.